So we call this the debrief period, getting your cortex online of your brain to help with the integration process. One way we can do that is, when you do this on your own, is to journal about the details of what you've noticed. In one sense, you can track your progress, and so that's really helpful, because you won't, when you get up into the hundreds of sessions like I am, being able to look back on it, you get a sense of what's changed. But for now, we can do it by talking and just saying anything that was of note. The tiniest little thing, my left pinky toe was buzzing. Just felt this vibration. And then it stopped. And then it turned on. It was almost like the buzzing was red. It's an odd way to describe my pinky toe, isn't it? But the unconscious is not logical. So I use that example because whatever came up is something that you can take note of, and noticing those details, as strange as they might seem, are completely relevant to your nervous system processing what it needs to process.
Well, on that note, when I was lying down, when I was relaxing, I was just trying to feel what sensations or what I could feel. It felt like my head was a book, like it was a flat book on the ground. So that was what I felt.
That's really cool.
It didn't hurt. I had a headache a while back, but it didn't hurt. It was just that sensation of being flat. So maybe I was really sunk in or something.
May I ask, is it the shape and the feel of a book?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it have anything to do with, maybe in addition, what a book represents to you? Something to consider.
Okay. Yeah, I could consider. I mean, for me, it was a very physical sensation. So I had the vision of my head was flat.
Cool.
I was very happy with, I guess, the amount of tremors. Like, I didn't know really coming into it, like, is it something you can do on the first time or not? So, from that point of view, I felt that it was very productive. At the very end, I got really flush and my ears got really warm in my face, and now I'm freezing. So I guess I'll be fine soon, but just definitely it was the change in the temperature.
Cool. So the temperature change indicates what's going on in the nervous system, and in another time and space where we have more time, I can explain what's going on in the nervous system according to the polyvagal curve. But basically there are 3 zones, and when we're relaxed, it's the social engagement circuit and we feel safe, and that's where we aim to stay. And our nervous system is constantly vacillating between all 3. The next one is mobilization, being brief here, where it's sort of excited, and it would be more of a warm or even hot sensation in the body. And then the third zone is immobilization, where it's to the level of arousal that it can go to freeze or collapse type of experiences, which would be when the body lowers in temperature to save resources. And this can happen in a moment with something somebody says on TV, So I say it like that so that we can take this experience and go, okay, so this is different, right? This is a different experience than I'm used to, perhaps. But my body's doing what it could do in any other situation. It's just we've given it access to do so. So sometimes there's this sense of, wait, do I need to be concerned about this or that? And really it's just the body doing what it does, and we're just tuning into it and allowing the release to happen. And so you got to experience the temperature changes in a really clear way, which is pretty cool. I haven't heard that one yet. Thank you.
I was having issues with the temperature, but I have Raynaud's. I have the blood literally stops circulating in my fingers and turn like ice. But I had in previous classes, I had the tremors like just up through my hips, and today I had it up through my rib cage, and then when I went into rest,
So has it gone that far before in terms of
Yeah,
going
that's
through?
definitely.
So this is a new level of movement. Very cool. Was there a temperature with it?
Well, I was cold.
Okay.
But, I mean, I have issues with the cold a lot anyway,
Mm.
but it seemed more pronounced tonight than the classes. But
Mm.
that, like I said, that could be the rain on its own, so.
Very cool. So it's progressing. Wonderful. If you'd like.
So I think I started trembling a little early just from my legs, just doing the warm up.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were laying down, I felt a band of warmth, essentially here, not above, not below, only here,
Just right through your brow.
right there, right through my brow. And as the trembling was taking place, emotions were coming through, and I felt an urge to release initially through tears.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel that, and I felt like this emotion to want to just cry a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then even when I laughed, that released it too. So like when you were saying, like, you laughing and crying, like that breathing mechanism is almost the same, very similar. So when I initially laughed, it kind of released that,
Mm.
and that felt good. Then it felt good to go back into it to like feel it some more.
Mm.
Even during the resting stages, as my legs were resting, my hips were resting, I was still trembling up here.
Mm-hmm.
So while laying flat, just letting my arms, I noticed the difference. Like first my arms were across my chest,
Mm.
and then I just let them lay to the side. And as I let them lay to the side, and just relax and relax and relax, it just wanted to vibrate through me.
Mm.
It felt great. I'm still like right now, I kind of like have, like there's this sensation of happiness,
Mm.
and then there's also, because now like I just thought back to 5 years ago when my incident happened,
Mm.
and it's funny how you said, as adults we learn to shelter and hold ourselves and our feelings and our emotions and not show.
Mm.
And I was conscious for that entire time when my accident happened.
Really?
Conscious the entire time, and I was really, like, I just kind of like laughed everything off. I was like, yo, like I'm good. Don't worry about me,
Mr. Tough Guy.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I started to have crowds of people around me, just get away from me. And, like,
Maybe in a sense it
and
was
not
to
actually
keep them
just-
from paying too much attention at that point. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got pain. No, I'm fine. Right?
Right, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, nothing, it's mine. Even when the accident happened, I'm like, oh, it's mine. Just set it for you. Downplayed.
Mm.
But my body knows. It's like,
Yeah.
my body's like,
Yeah.
No, that wasn't minor. Although I tell
Yeah.
myself up here, it's like, no, it wasn't minor. So
Yeah.
it's felt really good.
This is awesome.
It's a wonderful experience doing it in a group. It's such an honor for me to conduct and support in a TRE session. To me, it's almost a spiritual experience. It's this sense of transformation as we let go of things that we've held as tension and allow it to be expressed and then integrate. And it requires a safe space in the nervous system in order to do that. And thank you, everyone, for coming into that space with me. And this brings me to a really cool concept about how it's different in a group versus alone. And you may be able to speak to this because you've practiced it on your own. And I mentioned this at a previous class, this concept called limbic resonance, where In the animal kingdom, a herd of antelope, one of them is going to be more sensitive than the rest of them. And as soon as they notice a predator, they're going to react faster. But before you can even notice that there's a difference between the most sensitive one and everyone else, it's like this wave in the ocean. They all get the hit from the most sensitive one, and it ripples through them, and as one, they run away with just like a crack of a twig in the brush, right? And that's called limbic resonance. It's this way we can tune into one another through relationship, how we're attached, and just like a mother is with an infant, and with friends and with intimate relationships and all the bonds that we have, there's this connection. And so when we share an experience together, whether it's two people are in a traumatic event together, right? People who survived war, or even just something fun that happens together, doing karaoke or something, right? There's this sense of connection. And what I'm getting at is when you do TRE together, in a sense, we're resetting together. We're doing transformation together. We're engaging in a space of healing together. So that limbic resonance can show up as when one person's shaking, you may start to notice that your shaking changes a little bit. It's almost contagious. And it'll change the whole atmosphere as everyone, perhaps one person sinks into deep vulnerability. It'll assist everyone in the room to feel like, oh, okay, I can let go a little bit more, for example.
I think one thing I always like to add too, because it was when I first started, it was a bit confusing. Why? Because I had eyes and looking around the room. There's normally two types of people as far as how we hold stress or our nervous systems. There's overbounded people that tend to hold more. They'll release their tremorings over a slower period of time, so it takes them a little bit longer to open up. So you'll find that your progress is different and it's slower, which is has been my experience. I've only unlocked one arm. It's been well over a year. So, and sometimes it doesn't happen, so it's slower. And then other people tend to be underbounded, where they just have tons of movements quicker.
Yeah, that's me.
And there's really no one right or wrong way. It's not that we're doing anything right or wrong. It's just our systems and getting to know that with the overbounded, being patient with our progress and celebrating the small things, and being underbounded, taking more time to slow down and just really allow our body to get into the intensity. So just something that was helpful for me, because I look around and like, why am I not shaking like him? And what am I doing? And really my body couldn't handle that. And so it's just part of the fun, the curious, observation of our own little movements and joys.
We're all individuals, but we're all one human family too.
Yes. Yeah. And that limbic resonance is sort of a microcosm of that bigger picture, right? This this room of our oneness, as far as our connection in this experience, is a reflection of that oneness of humanity. And speaking to that curiosity Danielle was just mentioning, that wonder that you have when you're a kid, look at the look on her face. She is captivated in just absolute awe and wonder. I can't even tell what it is, maybe a candle. When we can hold our bodies with that kind of wonder, awe, and attention, that curiosity, just noticing, like, oh, look at that, in TRE or just throughout our day. Oh, I'm noticing the left lobe of my lung on the rear portion around the 10th rib. Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to know that, but for me, I know that. I'm like, wow, I'm feeling really expansive there, and I don't normally feel that part of my lungs expand. I didn't even know that could. That kind of curiosity, that wonder, it's like the kid, in the woods, at the stream and noticing a fish, like, what's that? And just tuning in. It changes the whole atmosphere of healing. It allows us to, using the hand model of the brain that I mentioned before, this is like the top of the brain, this is like the limbic part of the brain, the brainstem, and the spinal cord. It allows us to keep our cortex online, like we're doing right now. Laughing, sharing, communicating about our sensory experience. And when that happens, everything gets a little bit lighter, a little bit less serious, or like a problem that needs to be solved. Just like, oh, Yeah, I'm just here. Just noticing. Krishnamurti is a philosopher that once said that to observe, free from evaluation, is the highest form of human intelligence. And we know this in neurology to be true. When we're triggered, and usually that happens when we make a judgment about what should I be feeling this? Our cortex basically goes offline. We blow our lid. Right? All of a sudden, we're not, human beings anymore. We're functioning like animals with our emotions and our survival mechanisms, right? But when we just observe, what we actually do is allow more of that, what's called top-down regulation, allowing this part right where the third eye, is shown in Hindu philosophy, right, is the medial prefrontal cortex, and that's online just by that state right there. So it's a little bit over time. It's 10 after. My apologies for keeping you over, and thank you so much for coming. And if you have any questions, I'll be around. Feel free to come and ask me. And there's chamomile tea if anyone would like.
Sometimes it might
Hot
help
beverage.
warm up
Yeah, I'm
everybody
going
with
Yes.
And by the way, I also have mint green tea if anybody wants that instead of chamomile
I would love some of that.
on our website.
Thank you.